Hey guys, mahal everyone. Welcome back again to the Broadway Saiyan YouTube channel. 40 here, your host, and I have another video for you guys. Dissidia Opera Omnia. This time it's going to be focusing again on Fang, who's the next character event due for the global version of the game. Is she going to be a character for fun or for glory upon her initial release to the game? And now I know you guys are probably wondering, what's with all the video uploads on this day? Well, I'm preparing myself ahead of time for you guys because I will be taking a hiatus very soon upon the making of this video to prepare myself for the birth of my first baby boy. My wife and I are preparing for that, and he's due any day now, so I want to get all this content out to you guys early ahead of time so that way you guys have things to watch when I do go on my hiatus for my son. So that's why I'm doing all these uploads. But anyways, let's go ahead and start off Fang for fun or for glory. So what does she bring to us upon her initial release? So she brings to us high damage potential paired up with her debuffs that further enhance her damage capabilities, and that's coming from her first ability. And then her second ability has that launch mechanic built into it, which is amazing because as we know right now within the global version of the game, we're in that launch meta era where everybody is essentially running LAYLE and then another Brave Battery and then Setzer or maybe even another Brave Battery, and they're just launching the heck out of enemies and getting those high scores. Because for those of you that know how the launch system works, pretty much you're getting free turns and additional damage because it adds a multiplier to the amount of damage that you do to the target. So it's pretty crazy. And don't forget, it also builds up the summon bar a lot faster, so that's even more free turns. And then secondly, her secondary attack options with her Brave attack, it changes them depending on her unique buff. So then that way, if you don't want to use her abilities for longer fights, it prolongs her longevity in tougher battles. So then that way you're not concerned about her running out of abilities and things like that. And then finally, she has versatility in the ability to attack both single targets and multiple targets at a time, and that's coming from her ability 2, because her ability 2 with the passives equipped to it can actually do AoE damage. So she has options that way, so that's pretty cool. Alright, so we're going to take a deeper look into her abilities. So her first ability, Umbral Vice, with all passives considered, deals a 180% Brave damage potency. Now if the target is debuffed, that's at 270%. So I like that 270% increase. Now this ability also inflicts debuffs, so there's no excuse to not get that 270% Brave dash potency. So the debuff she inflicts is 25% max Brave down, 25% defense down, and small speed down for 6 turns. So that's pretty cool, especially that defense down, so then that way she's even dishing out more damage and helping your party dish out more damage. She also grants herself that Saboteur F unique buff, so this increases her max Brave by 60% for 6 turns. Now her max Brave stat is decent at base, but it's not the highest, so having this definitely helps her out. And she deals HP damage if her Brave reaches 80% or greater of her max Brave after she uses this ability. So pretty cool. I'm liking it so far. And then her Brave attack is changed to Brave Attack Plus, which is a 110% Brave damage potency. However, if it is against a debuff target, that's increased to 165%. So that's another option for her to be Brave shaving with her Brave Attack Plus. Now taking a deeper dive into her ability 2, it's going to be Whirlwind with all passives considered. So first of all, this is going to be an AoE Brave damage plus single target HP damage ability. Now again, you gotta make sure you have all the passives equipped, but that's what it does. So now she has the option to Brave shave multiple targets. It does have a base Brave damage potency of 80%, which is a little bit on the low side, but I can see why it's low because it does have that auto chase built into it, and we're gonna get to that. And then it's at 120% Brave damage potency when the ability either breaks a target or if she's already using this on a broken target. So you get an increase there. And then it's at 128% Brave damage potency if it's used against only a single target. And finally, it's at 192% Brave damage potency if that single target is being broken or is already broken. So little confusing there, but those are the Brave damage percentages depending on the conditions that you meet for this ability. Now, as we said earlier, this auto initiates the chase or the launch, and the way that works is if the ability either breaks the target or if it's already being used on a broken target, you auto initiate that. Now keep in mind that only happens against the main target, because remember, this ability is AoE with both of the passives equipped, so she's going to attack everybody, but remember, the chase is is only applied to the main target, and you still have to break them or make sure they're already broken for that to happen. And it does grant her a 20% physical attack up to herself for 10 turns, which further increases her damage. And it also grants her that Commando F unique buff, which increases her attack by 30% and her max brave by 60% for 6 turns. It also does change her brave attack to brave attack plus, which is an AoE brave attack with a 120% brave damage potency. It does deal 192% brave damage potency if it's used on a single target. So again, she has another option to brave shave, so then that way you could save her abilities for tougher and longer fights. Now, we're going to take a look at Fang or LAYLE. So this is going to be like the other topic that I want to discuss, because we have 2 launchers now essentially, or 3 if you consider Cloud, but Fang's is pretty cool because I like how it auto-initiates when it breaks. So let's take a look at Fang or LAYLE. So LAYLE's style of launching. So his style of launching requires knowing the numerical chase values of enemies. So I always remind you guys on every video that I've been making recently, but I did make a video last year regarding the chase mechanic because there are hidden value numbers regarding that. So knowing that is part of LAYLE's style of launching, because his ability 1, if you remember, halves an enemy's chase value. So it means it makes it faster to initiate a launch. And generally this ability is used on bosses because their chase values are higher compared to just standard mobs. And then his ability 2 deals 18 points of chase value to a target. So most mobs don't even have this amount. So that's pretty much an auto launch if you're using it on mobs. And that could be strategically used, like let's say if there's only, let's say 3 waves before a boss. So that's one way you could probably build up the chase, or the summon bar, I mean, because remember, initiating the chase means you have extra turns to deal more damage, and it speeds up essentially your summon bar. And then usually bosses have a chase value of 40. So there's a little bit of number memorization required when you do chasing with LAYLE. But if you have that down, then he is still pretty good, because remember, his energy gain, which is ability 2, which deals at 18 points of chase, also gives battery to the rest of your party, so that's pretty nice. And again, be sure to check out the video on the chase mechanic in the video description, as well as the pinned comments, if you guys need a little bit more clarification on how that works. I may do an updated version of it, because I know the video can be confusing, and the mechanic itself, especially for newer players, can be a little bit difficult to understand because it is a hidden value. Now, Fang's style of launching, all it requires is for her to break or attack an already broken target with Whirlwind. So that's pretty cool. That's all that it requires. And it does auto-initiate the chase on the main target, as her Whirlwind ability can deal AoE with passive. So remember, it's only on the main target. Now, Whirlwind does have a low damage output, so even if you meet those special conditions where you get the higher percentages on damage, it's not guaranteed that she's going to break. So you want to make sure that the target that you're planning on auto-launching with this ability doesn't have a crazy high brave amount. So that's one of the drawbacks with Whirlwind, is because it has a low damage output from the get-go, even with the other percentages applied to it. Enemies or bosses that like to use abilities that increase their brave to like a crazy amount, like for example, a good boss would be like Atma Weapon or Omega Weapon, I think is his name in DFFOO, likes to do this. That's where Fang might struggle in auto-initiating the launch, which is where you would prefer somebody like LAYLE, because LAYLE actually does it by chase values. But you just got to make sure that enemies don't have a high brave when you use Whirlwind, so then that way you could take advantage of Fang's launching. But that's a difference there between those two, because upon her release, I feel like they're going to be the 2 most popular units as far as initiating the chase. Alright, so Fang's pros and cons. So first of all, her pros. She has a great offensive stats in attack and max brave. She has fairly high damage output, great auras with her passives, as well as buffs to further support her damage. She has an easy requirement to auto-initiate the chase. You don't need to memorize any kind of numbers or things like that, and that could work wonders in achieving high scores for difficult events, because remember, chase gives you free turns, and there's a damage multiplier that's added to it. And then Brave Attack Plus versions, again, give her options outside of her abilities for more longevity. That way you could save some of her abilities so she doesn't run out of steam right away. And then her cons is the damage percentages on her abilities are somewhat low. Maybe not that low for ability 1, but definitely for ability 2. And she definitely needs her gear to compete as a launcher, especially that 35, because also that 35 increases the potency of her better unique buff, which is Commando F, because she increases her attack and her max brave, whereas her other one, her Saboteur, only increases her max brave. And then when the meta shifts away from the launch era, which it will happen eventually, where the meta will shift away from that, she will be power crept and she will be benched for a bit. So that's some of the cons that you want to keep in mind when you decide to build up this character. Alright, so some final thoughts. So I feel like overall, upon her initial release, she's a great character, and her ability to auto-launch, plus dealing more damage to debuff targets, I feel like this character is actually for glory with the current state of where Global is. And now while LAYLE is still in the spotlight for chase teams, I feel like Fang can serve that purpose as well. While she doesn't battery the party with her launch ability like LAYLE does, the requirement for me is easier to achieve, so I feel like she could be a pretty good character, that she's a character for glory. And a potential launcher team that you could be using could be Fang, LAYLE, and Katesith, and you would want to run the Pandemonium summon, so you're going to have some pretty crazy chasing and launching there if you run that party setup. And then definitely for artifact passives, I would focus on attack plus 108 and max brave plus 330, so then that way she could dish out more brave damage, especially with that whirlwind ability, because we know that the damage potency on that is a little bit on the low side. And then finally, for a little bit of future investment, she does later become more amazing because she gets a rework, a level 70 awakening, and an EX weapon. So if you decide to build her up now, she will be pretty good. She will get benched. It's just the way that it is with every mobile game. But later on, she does become a good future investment because she does get significantly better. All right, guys. Well, that is going to conclude my video for fun or for glory for Fang. Hopefully, you guys found this video useful. Again, stay tuned for the next one. This is 40 the Broadway saying, signing out. Mahal, everyone.